Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
I'm feeling some kind of way today. I'm feeling some kind of way. I am. I ain't playing and I ain't playing with it. How you like me now? Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. And I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. That's right. You know what? Why? Because I'm here. That's it. Because I'm here. How about you? Right? What you got to be grateful for today? Put something out. Put it out. Say its name. Call it out. Acknowledge it. Uplift it. Receive it. Will you do that for me? And let's get started. Welcome to today's installment. It is the 28th. Ooh, we're almost out of March. March. April. Lord Jesus. See, that's what's called a semi-senior moment. It almost, who am I? Where I live. Okay, but it wasn't a full one. So there you go. And for you young ones out there, don't get it twisted. There are such things as junior moments too. Quit playing. Right. Don't get it twisted. You work your way up to senior moments. They just don't show up out of nowhere. Right? So you guys, listen, that's the bell of purpose. It is a mainstay here on the show. And what is it? It's not just a little call bell. It is a call to action. That's right. When you hear the bell ring, it means that something is out here in the atmosphere. The frequency has been raised because we are pouring into each other. It means share the broadcast out. The manner in which you bless others is the manner in which you're going to be blessed. And you think those little bitty things like hitting the share button, then what's that going to get me? Try it and see. Quit playing. Try it and see. Every time you send something out and you just feel compelled to pay it forward, you know what that means? That means you are within purpose, because purpose is that one place that the minute something feels like it's all come together, when you know it has come from what is greater than, you automatically, before you even think about, oh, look at me, feel me, oh, look, Marsha. No, first thing you want to do is, how do I get this to a human? Who can I give this to immediately? Listen to yourself. Like you should have all those other times. Some told me not to get in that car. I knew when I gave her that money. Follow your first mind. Everything after that is second. That's why it's called second guessing. You will not find your way into the arms of purpose accidentally or by guessing your way. Be purposeful. Set intentions. Can I get an amen? Listen, today, beautiful people, good morning to you. First of all, where are my manners? I want you at this point, help me welcome to the show my sidekick. This is my best gal. She's my version of Ed McMahon. This is Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. And we went back to that old bitter, I almost said ass. Oh, I just did. That bitter ass making me crazy. I don't know what it is, though. It kind of does make me crazy. Cray. That's right, and I ain't ashamed of it. And you know what? I'm crazy in love with each and every one of you, and I'm going to continue being in love with you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. So how you like that? So who do we have here today? I'm excited because, you know, it's a short week. Just giving y'all heads up. The network is going to play a rerun on Friday because I'll be in the air at this time on my way to Washington, D.C. for the very first time in my life. I'm really excited about it. Going there to have my photo shoot with celebrity photographer Virginia Rose, also the host of La Dolce Vita podcast, and weekly dose of Dano host. Danny Echeverria will be there, and our entire team is going to be there. So we have the big photo shoot, shooting the cover of the July issue of Shift magazine. So I'm really excited about that. I'm a 4th of July baby. So it's going to be all red, white, and blue. And that's all I'm going to say because they say I can't hold water. Everything. You want to know what? You want to know another secret we doing? See, I can't hold water because I ain't telling you. Well, I can tell you this part. See? Okay, I'm getting out of there. Bye. So goodbye to that. And we're going to see a bunch of people. I've done over 16 commercials for veteran businesses, and 14 of those 16 people are going to be in all in one place Saturday. Didn't know it was going to be like that till after we had booked everything. It's just 45 minutes from where we're going to be doing the shoot. So we're going to be there for the afternoon on Saturday, meeting all of the people, representing one of my brands, which is this Electric Revival. I know you send up there. You mean he a competitor? Lauren do the same stuff. Show do. Now you know why you're here. I'm just kidding. Electric Revival, which is my digital content creation arm. We're going to be there. Hopefully drumming up some business, keeping it real. Hey, right? Got to pay the bills somehow. I'm trying to get Rico free, and you know that costs money. Look, see, look. Now look, it right. What would you do? There we go. So anyway, who do we have here today? It's time to get him in here. Today we have, now don't let the smooth taste fool you. And I'm gonna just tell you, he got a whole bunch of different names. I asked him point blank, you on the witness protection program? You on the run? Why you got so many names? AKA. You ain't no rapper. So okay, that I know of. Anyway, Bradley James, also known as Kenneth Bradley, also known as KJ. Also, I made up that last one. I was going to make up one, but I didn't. Who is he? He's a veteran. Where's my flag? Is way over there. Okay, I'm flying it. A veteran. Thank you so much for your service. But more importantly, KJ, thank you for your sacrifice, right? I get it. Because I'm one too. And serial entrepreneur who is on an unyielding quest to preserve our nation's treasured stories. Amen to that. Me too. The CEO and founder of KT. Come in here, KT. If you don't get your little ass in here, KTA Interactive Media LLC. Whole bunch of acronyms in there. Kenneth seeks to honor our nation's heroes by preserving their stories in their words. He ain't trying to hijack their stories. He's trying to accentuate and elevate their stories. That's awesome too. Let's see. He has honed and perfected his interviewing style to bring the best out of every guest, which makes every interview must-watch television. To date, he has interviewed over 50 veterans. Oh, really? 50 veterans. One of them missing. Should have been 51. Okay. Okay, you're going to keep playing with me. Keep playing, KJ. You're going to go home, JK. Anyway, I'm just saying, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Please don't not let me on your show. I want to be on your show. There's a whole bunch more. Good Lord. And obviously he's on the way to writing a novel because this bio long. Anyway, why do I feel like I know him already? Give me a week. I'll be calling him nephew. You know what that means, right? You guys, I'm being silly this morning, but no more wasting of time. You know how we do it here on Bathrobe Moments. We put our hearts into it. We pour our hearts into it. We pour our hearts into each other, and we put our hearts up on the screen. Quit playing. Put your hands together, and let's get him on the stage. Here you come. KJ, Kenneth. What's the other three? Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Lauren. Thank you so much for such an amazing introduction. I've been backstage laughing since the show started.
Aw. Oh, good. Laughing with me or laughing at me?
Laughing with you.
Okay. You know I still got a little self-esteem problem. I'm kidding. I'm glad to have you here, young man, and I'm loving that. I really love your logo.
Thank you so very much. I
appreciate it. Really nice, and I find it so interesting how that screen behind you, that's a big head back there, but your real head almost looked like it fit that hat.
It do, don't it? I told you, I told my mom, I said, well, I gotta make the most out of it. So.
Oh, I saw them guns too. You be hitting the gym?
I wish. This is leftover from 17 years of service.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't get it in like I used to.
Yes. So before we get started, tell everybody a little bit about your backstory, because there was a lot of things that I wanted you to hit the highlights. Like you said, better in your words than mine. Tell them where you're at in the world, a little bit about your family, all that.
Absolutely. What's up, world? You know the name, you know the brand. It's your boy KJ Bradley, owner of KTA Interactive Media. We are a veteran-based production company. Our primary focus is capturing the time-honored tradition and stories of those veterans who were in it and allowing them to tell their stories in their own words. Oftentimes, throughout the annals of history, things kind of get lost and misconstrued, especially when the higher powers want to put out a narrative. So our primary focus is getting the actual stories from the veterans, so we can have something to go back and look at on and say, okay, this happened from this guy's mouth, and we know it's an accurate depiction of what happened because he was there. So our primary focus has been that. We have a couple of different projects in which we do that with, and we'll kind of get into that as the show goes along. But for myself, 17-year military veteran, I was well on my way to 20 years. The spirit was willing, but the body was weak. Ended up breaking down pretty bad. I went through a rough mental spell when my body couldn't perform like I was accustomed to performing for the majority of my career, and it kind of put me in a dark tunnel. And I ended up being medically retired on my 17th military anniversary. I was medically retired. I never forget sitting in the doctor's office after my second hip surgery, and the doctor looked me in the eye and told me point blank, he was like, look, guy, no hips, no service. And I was like, well, got to figure something out. Luckily, my wife is still serving. She's active duty. She's currently over in Kuwait right now, getting it in the long way. So she left me here at the house with my Raptors, pulling the daddy daycare duties.
Okay.
But outside of that, just trying to figure out what to do with my hands, if you know what I mean, for the first time in my life, was a really challenging time. And it took me about 18 months to actually find out who I was as an adult. I mean, I spent my entire formative years, kicking indoors and dragging bodies and, squeezing the trigger and all that gung-ho stuff. And then, you know, I find myself a 35, 36-year-old man saying, hey, the Army don't want you no more. Find something to do with yourself. Thank you for your service. And that was life changing and life altering for me and my wife. Um, we had one child who thankfully was out in California going to school at the time, so it wasn't as rough. But shortly after retirement, we ended up having two more kids. So I'm a late bloomer to the kid game.
Well, obviously, clearly, you found something to do with your hands.
Listen, I told my wife, I said,
Just
hey,
saying.
I told my wife, I said, hey, girl, I ain't got nothing to do. I said, you looking mighty fine with them push-ups, girl.
Get over here, girl. You know, I may retire from the Army, but I'm still in the fight. Yeah, I feel you. So congratulations on your extended family and everything you've got going on. If it's okay, let's go back. Let's back the car up.
Okay.
And go back to that dark tunnel that you mentioned earlier. Now, a lot of people are aware that PTSD is a service-connected thing that a lot of us who come out, no matter whether we served actively in a combat situation or not, I'm service-connected and never was on the battlefield. But you go through things that people could never imagine. Now, clearly, from your description, you were putting it in. You were out there doing those things that a lot of, well, all of them, you cannot unsee them once you've seen them. But here's the deal. I have a feeling that when you were saying, I mean, it wasn't, a lot of people would expect the crash or the implosion, if you will, to have been connected to some of the things you experienced and saw, but that isn't what disqualified you for active duty. It was a medical thing.
Right.
So did the body thing happen first and then the mind came after it, or was the mind breakdown kind of, the spirit breakdown, however you want to put it? Was that happening simultaneously, before, after? What was the order of operation?
I'll tell you. So I went over to my timeshare in Iraq 5 times. And I call it the timeshare because we were rocking and rolling, brother. We were 15 on, 9 off, and that was an experience. I don't necessarily say it was good or bad. It was just an experience. And once you get used to that adrenaline and that high, you have a very difficult time trying to replace it. So as things kind of drew down and the deployments weren't coming as often as they were, you kind of get back into operational life where you're doing, the office work, locked in the cubicle.
Yeah.
I came up as a combat soldier. I came up with, hey, how do we train? When do we go to the range? When can I get in my Humvee and get away from stuff? And then you spend all your junior years, living a certain lifestyle. And then as you become a senior, they throw you in the cubicle and say, okay, hey, work these PowerPoint slides, go to these meetings, give these briefings. And you're like, what the hell is this? Excuse my French,
Right.
And so you're like, all right, well, how do I replace that adrenaline rush? Because your body is, humans are creatures of habit. Once you're used to having that adrenaline rush every year, you're like, all right, I got to find something to replace it. And what I found out, not only with just me, but in these interviews, I found out that a lot of veterans have a very difficult time turning that off. And that's what leads to the problems.
Amen. It's like, I remember when I separated, because my separation was based on what actually is my service-connected disability, the PTSD. And mine was actually due to, and this story is breaking actually in the July issue of Shift magazine, which we're doing the cover for. But I'm going to talk about that extensively in that article when that comes out in July. And a lot of nobody knows this. I'm breaking the story right here. But yeah, I separated due to an incident of military sexual trauma. Oh. And back then, they didn't want, even though it was don't ask, don't tell, they didn't want to talk about it. And so it was the way they handled it that I didn't even know it was a big deal until somebody in the VA went through my file and said, hey, we want to talk to you because we saw something that should not have happened. And it ultimately got me, connected. So I get it. There are so many different situations for all of our service brothers and sisters that a lot of people don't get to hear because we don't talk about it. So that leads me to my next question, KJ. It really spoke to me when you said telling their stories in their words. In other words, their voice. What made you, what made that stand out to you as something that needed to change or needed to be pushed closer to the front of the line wherein it pertains to the sharing of our stories?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So the story's kind of twofold. Um, Growing up, we grew up in the South, very rural town, right before Atlanta became the big metropolis it was really,
The South.
yeah,
You
yeah.
from the South?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia,
I
born and
thought you was
raised.
from New York City with that accent.
No, no,
I'm
my wife's from Queens, but
I'm
yeah, I know. So, we'd sit around the story, man, and granddad and grandma, you sit around the stories and they would tell these amazing stories, man. You'd be like, where did you get this? And they'd be like, oh, you're not gonna find it in the book. This is just life. And that always kind of stuck with me. So when I came back and I was stationed in Fort Bliss, Georgia, I was a platoon sergeant at the time. I said, man, hey, guys, I'm going down to the Veterans Center and just kind of hanging out. And, we go down there at STS, and STS is shoot the shit. For those not military guys, that's where you just kind of go hang out and, show other veterans love and just kind of, talk about everything. And I think we ended up getting about 6 different soldiers in my platoon, and we would go down once or twice a month down to the Texas Veterans Home in El Paso. And man, when I tell you, you heard some of the most phenomenal, amazing veteran stories. Um, we had these guys, from World War II, the Vietnam guys, and you're like, man, I never knew that happened. And they was like, yeah, you're not gonna find that in the history book, kid.
Mm.
Some things you don't want out in the public, and you understand why. Once you play the game, you understand that not all stories are fit for public consumption, right? But
Not
man,
all of them.
yeah, these veterans, man, they would just sit down, and once you got comfortable, they would just lay it on you. And I'm like, man, when these guys died, we would lose these stories forever, man. I was like, somebody got to do something. Somebody got to do something. I don't want to lose these stories. These are great stories. And that's when the seed kind of all came back to me. Remembering sitting down, listening to my grandma, my granddad tell
Yeah.
stories, and my uncles, and I was like, man, we got to capture this. And that's kind of how we got started with the 10-minute stories project. And initially we had just a regular tape recorder, and we would just go down and just, hey man, tell me about a regular day on the firing base. And man, when I tell you, you got into some wild stories, man, it just blossomed into this thing, which was just dope. And then we ended up being recognized on Fort Bliss for our project, for our outreach as a platoon, because nobody had done it before. And I was like, man, there could be something to this. And that's just kind of how it works. So as I got out and I began to find myself, I was in therapy every day, once a week. I was in therapy, outpatient therapy for PTSD and mental related issues since 2010. So it's just, having
What do you mean when you say, because y'all know y'all was asking to same
yeah,
time
yeah, yeah,
out
yeah.
his mouth, when you said mental related issues?
So I've had the unfortunate experience to see some pretty gruesome things. And that's just the cost of paying the bills. When you go to war, it's a 50-50 shot. It's either going to be you or him, or them versus us. And sometimes we won, most times we won, sometimes we didn't.
Can I ask you something about that?
Yes.
That I've never asked a combat soldier. How see, told you I never asked it. When you're, and you don't have to answer this, but I don't know if there is an answer, but when you're doing that, some of the stuff you describe, you said pulling bodies out and this and other. What is it inside of us that allows us to separate ourselves from, I mean, it's one thing if you work in trauma, like as an EMT and you're trained, and yes, you are trained and this is your work, but when you sign up and you raise your hand and you're in that room with all the flags and stuff, that's not what you're picturing. The possibility is there, but when it really happens, which I never experienced it. So that's why I'm so over you guys. So did that change you when all of a sudden being able to, because you have to, I would think, separate yourself from the situation to stay focused on the task at hand? What did you reach to inside of you that obviously was always there? What switch did you need to flip flip in order to maintain it in the moment. We deal with it with PTSD, and afterwards going to therapy and all the things we do to heal. But what did you reach for? What did you flip as far as a switch in order to handle it in the moment? Because that's where a lot of us fall into the deep rabbit hole.
Right. I will tell you, you have to reach deep down and find a almost animalistic carnal nature. You have to, when you separate and understand the realism that one of us aren't going to make it, because there's no turning back. Once you're in the point of attack, there's no turning back. So you have to, it's really difficult to explain, man. You have to be able to separate yourself and get really animalistic. It's either you come to a point to where you don't see human beings, you see bodies. It's either him or me. One of us is going to call our families tonight, and you have to make a decision. Who is it going to be? And that when you live like that, and I mean that's, you know, you're out on patrols and you're on these bases. You're doing 12 on, 12 off. So for 12 hours a day, you know, 12 hours a day, 365 days, you're riding on this super high adrenaline rush of somebody's not gonna make it today. And I promised my wife I was gonna call her when I got back. So, you know, it's one of those things, man, and it takes you to a level to where you almost, I don't know, man. It's animalistic, man. You get this rage, and you know, deep inside, something tells you, you know, that's a human being, that's a person, you know, they have a family. But at the end of the day, it's business. And when you realize and you flip that switch and understand that, look, this is business. It's not personal. It's business. One of us not going home, and I promised my wife I was coming home. So you got to go. And it's one of those things, man. And that's why a lot of veterans struggle when you get back home, because your mind, you're a different person. You're never the same because you have to dig so deep into your carnal nature to survive. Because there is no in between. You know, you'd like to believe that, you know, oh, we can talk this out, this, that, and the other. But you got to understand when you're placed in that position of a person who does not know you. They know the idea of you, and the idea of you is you are a threat. They don't know you. They didn't know KJ Bradley. They didn't know that I volunteer and I'm a gentle soul. What they saw was that flag, that uniform, and they saw that as a threat to their way of life. Once you realize that, you know, you can never be the same. And it only magnifies itself with death. It's a horrible will. We kill one of your friends, your uncle, your dad. You now have a life vendetta against us. You kill my best friend, or you kill one of my squad members. I got to call his wife and tell him, hey, I didn't do my job because your son or your husband isn't coming home. I made 3 of those calls in my career. Let me tell you, there is nothing worse than having to stare into the eyes of a loved one and give them a flag and tell them that you did not do your job and you're the reason that their child is not coming home. When you hold that weight on your shoulder as a leader, you will do everything in your mind, everything in your body possible. You never have to make that call again.
Wow.
So when you live like that your entire young adult life, and then you come home and they say, okay, hey, the war's over. you can't go back.
Right.
You no matter no matter you try, you go to therapy, you go to therapy, you do all the kumbayas, all the meditations, but in your mind you are forever changed. And that is my mission, to get these stories out, because people do not understand that the person that you kissed going off the war is gone forever.
That's right.
They're never coming back. You're essentially losing your life. You're never coming back the same.
Yeah, that's the thing about trauma. On the battlefield known as war, military style, and the battlefield known as life. And you know, the traumas that all of us have felt and experienced at one point or another. And the thing about it is that at the time, it's everything. It's everything. But that's why I say it's important for us to always remember that that door in which trauma comes storming through, kicking down, it does it so quickly and catches you so off guard, no matter how prepared you think you are, that you don't get a chance to realize that that door has two doors with it. There's the main one that the trauma is focusing on and hoping you focus only on. But then there's that small, minute little doggy door, if you will, where a blessing, a future blessing, comes in at the same time and is born into the process of becoming. Because today, as you sit in front of me, you could have never known back then when you were delivering those 3 calls, handing those flags and looking into those eyes that you spoke so clearly about, that it was leading you to this blessing of telling these stories today.
Absolutely.
And so that's an important part that we don't want to miss. And we're going to run off real quick just for a brief 2-minute commercial break. But when we return, I'd like to go into talking about some of these stories, show a little bit about what you do, and just take it from there. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll be back in 2 minutes, you guys. This is a great time to share the broadcast out. The best is yet to come, and you don't want to miss it. Stay where you're at. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
You're watching the Lounge with Legends TV show with your hosts, Marty Martinez and James A. Phelps.
Okay, and welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris, and I just want to say thank you to my sponsors today, Marty Martinez and James Phelps. They are the host of a brand new show here on the E360 TV network. You saw the promo there. Lounge with Legends. They're celebrating success stories of veterans. So you see, there is an entire family of people from the military world who are hoping to enlighten your world with why we serve and why we sacrifice. Now, if any of the digital media that you see here on this show, any day, all day, every week, every month, makes you feel like you could do better with your brand or business, get at us. Electric Revival, there it is in the screen. It's my digital content creation company. It's a branch of LMH Productions, and we would love to help you get your dream on the screen. Just came up with that. Alexa, I done told you. Didn't nobody call you? She always, but she used to, you have to say her name for her to talk. Now she just come in when she wants. She gonna end up in the garage sale soon. I'm not playing, or I'm gonna cut the cord off the back, talking when she want to. I don't like that. It's scary. So anyway, I mean, you know what I mean? She's just rude sometimes. But anyway, we're back with the awesome KJ Bradley Jr. Of KTA. Tell us now about, before we get started, I want to ask you, have you ever thought about acting?
I have not, no.
You should. Because I heard they're getting ready to do, come up with the, a life story of one of our comedians that passed away a couple decades. I don't know how long it's been. But remember him? Remember him?
Yes.
Yeah. You remember him, right?
I do, absolutely.
Well, can anybody see that? I'm gonna re-upload that. Wait a minute. I'm gonna put it somewhere else. So y'all can see it for real. Is this it? Where is it? Hold on. Too funny. Bradley James. Yeah, there we go. I ain't playing. Wait a minute. I was too happy when this one came up. Y'all look. Now you know who that is on the right. Don't that look like that could have been a kid version of Bernie Mac? That's you. Boy, look at here. I'm serious. Even if you can just loan them your baby pictures when they, when they doing the little kid part of Bernie Mac, you look just like him in there. Anybody ever told you that?
Nah.
I bet. Okay, who was it? Biggie? Who did they say you look like?
Nobody. I really don't even pay any attention.
KJ, you look like KJ, right? So tell us, I was just playing with you. I had something else for you too. Oh, yeah. This lady, look up in the corner.
Oh man, that's a staple at the house. Oh,
I heard. I was like, I want to meet her.
Oh, listen. When I tell you, she stood on the corner right before you go in the underground Atlanta and the 5 Points train station, man. Anybody who grew up in the late 80s throughout the 90s of Atlanta knows this lady. Oh my God, that was an experience. She will cuss you out and bless you at the same time.
At the same
time, Lord.
Oh my goodness! I'd have been sitting right. I'd have been eating lunch on a park bench with her.
That brought back memories, man. Yeah, I got a smile on my face from that one, man.
I did too. When I found it on your page, I was like, sometimes you go, man, I wish I had experienced her. That's how that was. So speaking of experiences, do you remember where you were? Do you remember what was going on in your space when this gift of this show of telling the stories of veterans was brought to you? Because I believe our greatest content comes to us on its way through us, and we're simply whistle stops, if you will. So talk about that. What was going on in your life that made this so important that you pulled the trigger on it? Absolutely.
I remember we were at the veterans home. It was only me and two other soldiers at this particular time. And we, normally we'd stay about an hour or two. And I met this young man, well, not so young, name, I never forget, Robert Hooks. Oh my God. Sergeant First Class Robert Hooks served, he served through Korea and Vietnam. And when I tell you, this guy was the vilest, most racist, most anti-integration, anything outside of white person you ever met. And this story has a twist. It's not going to go how you think it's going to go.
What in the world?
Whoa, this guy, let me tell you, this guy, he was one of those guys that will tell you to your face, go back to Africa, you monkey, comma, with the only exception being service members. Now, initially when we sat down and we interviewed, because we'd been there 3 or 4 times prior doing the interviews, and he'd always sit in the corner and watch. So one day I asked him, I walked up to him, hey, would you like to do an interview? Would you like to sit down and talk? I don't feel like talking to you, monkey. All right, cool, great. That was the end of the conversation. But about 15 minutes later, he said, "Hey, you serve." I said, "Yes, sir. I'm actively serving. I'm a sergeant first class." "Really? Thank you for your service. You know what? On second thought, I'll sit down and talk to you." And from this conversation, this guy has the utmost respect for anyone who serves in a uniform. Now,
No matter what color?
yeah, no matter what color.
Okay.
Now, after that uniform comes off, you go your way, I'll go my way. I don't want to see you. I have a silent respect for you. So we sat down, and initially our interviews were about 15, 20 minutes. I sat down with Mr. Hooks for 4 hours. And I had to get this guy's story because he would talk about growing up and how he would go out and get in the truck, back of the truck as a teenager, and they would go look for black people to beat with bats and stuff. And he would share this story so openly and freely. But then he said when he went into the military, he got to meet people on a personal level. He said it took some time, but he ended up earning respect. You know, and the cool thing about this guy, and I have the utmost respect, and we ended up becoming really, really great friends. And the coolest thing about this guy is he would give it to you no holds barred. You know, kind of a look, boy, this is what it is. This is the way of life. I ain't saying it was right or wrong because I'm old enough to look back and realize some things, but I'm just telling you how it was. So I had to appreciate the fact, one, that he was willing to be honest and open with me, because that's what I want. I want you to tell me, you know, what was it like those first decades of integration with the black and white soldiers? What was it really like? Because the history book is a gloss over it, and they'll say, oh, you know, the integration and everything was great. That wasn't the case. For a very long time, even through Vietnam and Korea, you had you could be in the same section or the same squad and be two totally different people. The only thing that brought you together was that common sense of danger that, hey, I need to know no matter what, when somebody's shooting at me, you're going to shoot back with me, and we'll finish what we got to finish when we get back to base. Right now, we're 1-1 in the same. And I'm telling you, that was the most amazing story. And he ended up passing away, and that was going to be one of my initial stories in the 10-minute stories campaign, because his story was so compelling and so forthcoming, man. I mean, you just don't get that kind of openness and that honest, candid, like, yeah, you know, I never forget, and not to go off on a tangent, but he told me, he said it's not that I don't like black people. He said it's not that I don't like you niggas. I love you. I love you.
He said it just like that too, didn't
he? And you know, and because at this point I was like, look, don't hold back. You know what I'm saying? If you would say it in front of your buddy drinking at a bar, you can say it here. I'm not a thin-skinned person, whatever. And he said it's just the way I was. From the time I could walk and talk, niggas was evil. That's all I knew. He said that's all I knew. So when I went into the military and I saw him, the first thing I thought was, oh, great. They're gonna, where's my wallet? They're gonna try to steal my shoes. They're gonna try to steal my rations, because that's all he was taught. And he said through his experiences, he learned that blacks are humans just like everybody else, and that kind of stuck with me. So I'm like, man, it's not that he had a hatred or race. It's just his lifestyle.
Generational.
Yeah, it's just if you're and that goes back to the whole institution of racism. If you're taught that from the time you can walk and talk, you got diapers on, and you're talking, hey, don't trust this black person, don't trust that Asian person. You know what I mean? That's all you know. And it's not like you weren't around black people to know any different, because there weren't black people allowed in your neighborhood.
Right.
So if that's what you're taught, and that's what all your friends are taught, and you're going through all your formative years through school on that same common thought pattern, and there's nothing in your life to contradict that, then it's pretty easy to understand how you would have such deep-rooted feelings about racism.
So what did it change in you, KJ, hearing this and experiencing the beginning, middle, and end with this gentleman? What did that do to you? How were you changed? Because I have a pretty good idea that you did change. Absolutely. You walked in one way, walked out another. How did it change your insight, your outlook, the premise of, as far as the premise of racism?
Yeah, absolutely. So, after I went through the initial reaction, man, this racist son of a, blah, blah, blah. I had to sit down and I had to kind of, work through my own process and understand, like, man, what's the story behind this? Why is this important? Well, it's important because I have a uncut, unadulterated view from the other side. And I was like, this is important because you're not going to get that conversation. Nobody's going to sit down and tell you why I'm racist. Nobody's going to sit down and explain to you why I hate you. And I had an opportunity to capture that. And I was like, man, if I can get stories like this, what else is there for me to find out? You know what I'm saying? What are the underlying stories that I'm missing that went on in the military that you're not going to know about? You're just not.
So when you interviewed him, were you active duty?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so you were safe, because if you would have, so were you in uniform?
No. We didn't go down in uniform. We went down in civilians.
Okay. So did you ever get the feeling where you sitting there going, okay, I ain't in uniform. Is he calling me comrade or coon?
Well,
in his mind.
No. That wasn't in no mind. He was very honest and open with his.
I appreciate that in people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I told him, I said, listen, as we sat down, I said, listen, I got pretty thick skin. I can deal with it. Talk to me just like you talk to, any other blah, blah, blah. And he was like, are you sure, boy? And he always called me boy. And I was like, look, dude, I just need the story. Like, my personal feelings are out of it. I was like, I need you to be honest and open, or else nobody's going to believe it.
Was there any part of it when you were sitting there, you're like, I'm getting this story?
Oh,
if any other time
God bless America. There were plenty of times I had to get up and be like, okay, time out. Give me 5 minutes. Let me go outside and relax and catch some air, and we can come back. I mean, when I tell you, it was almost as if, he kind of had this thing where he was tense because, in the healthcare industry in El Paso, there were Hispanic nurses and Black nurses, not a lot of white nurses. So he had to be careful with what he said because of a fear of, the nurses attacking him, when we left. And I had to tell him, I said, look, man, so when we initially do the interviews, we do it in the great area, which is kind of like a big living room, right? You got your lounge chairs and everybody. But after Mr. Hooks got comfortable with me, we ended up having to go into a conference room by ourselves because he was worried that the nurses were going to do something to him after we left.
Oh, because they hear him being vulnerable and transparent.
Exactly.
They'll take it out of context.
Exactly.
Smart guy.
Mm-hmm. And man, let me tell you, when we got behind those closed doors, Lord have mercy, did it pour out of his soul. And
do you feel it was,
go ahead.
What's that word, honey? Reciprocity? Is that a word? Is that the right word? Did you feel like, okay, I don't even know why I put that out there, y'all. They like reciprocity. Get yourself a dictionary. Public school. Do you think that this was a part of his healing? Being able to put it out there the way it was put in him, but with the disclaimer
right. And I think by the end, because we ended up doing 6 different hourly interviews.
Wow.
And just being able, and then that's just recorded time. That's not us. Hey, Mr. Hooks, how your day going? Oh, they're stealing my medicine. You know what I mean? That's not the setup time and just going in and checking on them and then talking after the interview. But I think a part of it was him trying to, I call it his coming to Jesus moment, where you're like, all right, hey, let me get this off of my soul. Let me, I got a lot of pent up wrong, and once he realized that, I wasn't in it to make a buck, because we weren't selling this information at the time. This was just a passion project for us. And, once we developed that common trust between one another, I mean, that's when you started to get to the, I kind of started raising my kids the same way I was raised up, but it wasn't until they were about 10 or 12, I had to teach them a different way, because I didn't want them to carry that kind of hurt and guilt into a changing world. I had to tell them that not all people are evil. You know what I'm saying? And I think it helped me to be able to see that, but it also helped him to be able to get that off his chest. And I think that was kind of his writing himself with the universe before he
I was
passed
just
on.
gonna say, you know, young man, I know this to be true. I can feel it through my spirit that what you did by allowing him to tell his story was for him to forgive, to lay it down, to make it right in his own way while he still had time. You brought him his flowers while he was here to smell them, and he gave you some of his while you were here to be able to do something with it after he was gone. I think that's wonderful. That's why Passion Project is on the screen. Those aren't just two little words, everybody. That is a movement. That is a spirit. And so whatever you put your soul DNA on will become a passion project if it isn't already. So keep that in mind. So how many stories have you done so far?
So far we have over 80 stories.
Wow.
Those stories with Mr. Hooks we can't use. The family will not grant us clearance. We've requested it several times, and the reason why is they want to protect his legacy, and I completely get it. What I would do is we would take those video recordings or whatever, and we'd send copies to the family so they can archive them and have those stories for their grandkids. So, you know, when they ask, oh, I see a picture of granddad who was in the Army, what was he like? They can go back and they can take that DVD and say, well, let him tell you his story in his own words, right?
Right.
So once we sent the tapes to Mr. Hooks and his family, and we was like, hey, we'd like to put this together and use this in, you know, in our series, My 10-Minute Stories Project. I got a letter back from his oldest son saying that, hey, we understand what you're trying to do, but out of respect for his legacy and our family, we don't want to air that information. We don't want that to be the lasting image of our grandfather.
Right.
And I understand completely.
I do too. I do too. I do
No.
too. And what I love, as you see on the screen, I've put up there, release the past. Sometimes people think that this means forgetting about it. That means, okay, now I've said it, it's done. I don't have to say it again. But when we release the past, what we're releasing, in my opinion, is a lot of the bathtub ring.
Yeah.
But not the bathtub. You see what I'm saying? We're just scrubbing the ring off because the past has everything that can help us to understand our present and our future, how we got there, how we're getting where we're going, and all of the things, not just the good, but all of the things that have been poured into us by ancestry and by environment. So I love what you're doing. I have a feeling, I don't know if this is the first time you heard it, but coming through me, not from me, I have a feeling, and I have some people I'd love to connect you with that could make this a reality for you if you aren't already doing it. But I think you have the makings of one humdinger of a documentary.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Clearly. Yeah, we need to talk, young blood. We need to talk, nephew. See, I told you. See how I did that, y'all. See. So I would like to ask you this. What would you like the title of your story to be one day when someone annals it, makes it part or whatever? I was trying to use a word with more than 6 letters. That's my own rule on here. Don't use words with more than 6 letters. Public school. So anyway, whatever. Putting it in order, putting it down, archiving it. Because of course, going through this, you see the power of preservation. Because here's the deal, you guys, write this one down. Get ready, write it down. How do you know? Another litmus test of purpose? How do you know you're in it? Well, suddenly you stop saying, what did I do to deserve this? And then you start saying, now what can I do to preserve this? Think about that. Wait on it. Let that sink in for a moment. Not what did I do to deserve this, but what can I now do to preserve this? And so getting your stories down, even recipes and things within families have stories connected all the way back to slave times for African-American family and beyond. So it's about telling the story, and that's what I love. And so what are your plans? Where would you like to see this show? 1 year from now.
That's a great question, man. To be honest with you, I just enjoy hearing great stories, man. That from my childhood, I love to learn about people. It's always been I guess a passion of mine to know that people existed and to be able to hear their story, what makes them unique, what makes them them. And
Right.
when I tell you, man, I just really enjoy it. It's just something that's in me. It's in my DNA to be able to hear people's stories, man. And I think you're gonna.
Well, let's take a look. Yeah, here we go. I want to make sure I got this in.
Proverb once said that when an elder dies, it's as if an entire library burned down. But what if we could preserve those libraries, those memories, those stories, those life lessons that escape us in the history books? My name is KJ Bradley, and I'm the host of a new web series called My 10-Minute Stories. And our mission is to archive and preserve those extraordinary stories told by ordinary people in an effort to give insight and perspective of the life and times of days gone by.
I am a retired disabled Lexington County Sheriff's Deputy.
I joined the military out of college.
I felt like it's what God was calling me to do.
We'll always make mistakes. Take your time, get it right the first time.
Find your passion point and go after it hard.
Don't give up. You're not alone. You're not forgotten. We've got your six.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at My 10 Minute Stories, or at our website at www.my10minutestories.com. It's going to be an incredible journey, and we hope that you guys are along with us for the ride.
I'm going to pin that video to the top of the Bathrobe Moments page for a few days. And I want you all to get over and check out what they're doing, what KJ is doing with 10-Minute Stories. You may know someone, or it could be you, whose time has come to leave your soul DNA within this universe in more than just fingerprints or DNA. Because when we leave to the upper room, fingerprints of DNA are going to stay right here.
Yes,
it's
sir.
our stories that will live on. So having said that, I want to thank you, KJ Bradley, for all that you do, have done, and continue to do, and will do in this world. Thank you for your service and for your sacrifice. And if you or someone you know would like to continue the conversation with our guest today, here are a few places to do that. Facebook.com/KJKTA. If Twitter's your jam, Twitter @KTA Interactive. And then finally, Instagram for you who are image oriented @KTA Interactive. There you go. And what I fell in love that came out of your mouth, I fell in love with it today, and I'm going to keep it. Passion project. Turn everything you do into a passion project, and watch what happens in your life. KJ, thank you so much again for joining us. You have a turnstile invitation, which means you're welcome back here anytime. You have something you want to share, something new going on in your life, please come back and share it with us. We'd love to support you. Anything you'd like to say to the folks in closing?
Absolutely. Listen, every day is a great day to tell a story. Don't be afraid to tell your story, because it's unique and it's only you can tell it.
There it is in a nutshell. So on that note, let's get out there and bless the world in the manner in which we would want to be blessed. Let's love up on everyone in every situation that we find. And remember, it's really not that hard to find something kind or uplifting to say about, well, just about anything. If we leave those opportunities and those people that we encounter on an ongoing basis just a tad bit better than the way we find them, you'd be surprised at how much better we become in the process. My name is Lauren Michaels Harris, and you've been watching Bathrobe Moments. Thank you. If God wills it, I'll meet you tomorrow morning once again at 8 a.m. Central out on the front porch, and we'll do it all again. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Bathrobe Moments. Have a great day, everybody. KJ, love you, man, as you were.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. side.